Alright, and we are YouTube Live. I forgot to turn the timer on. Okay. Alright, so let's start out. If you want pads for the knees, grab the pads. Anybody want pads? You're going to do knees as wide as you can, so if you're going to go outside your mat, it's better to have the pads. Not that's not. Oh, fine. I'm going to go all the way out to the side. Okay. And start out also, you won't use it quite right away, but bring your orange bolster up just to the top of the mat so you can reach it when you get to it. So it's kind of unburied. Okay, put it far enough forward though that it's not going to be in your way. And when you come down to the mat, take knees a little wider than the mat if you can get them there, and then elbows on the ground. Top to the feet toward each other, heels a little bit back. You're purposely trying to roll heels back, not your typical frog where we turn the feet out. It's almost like you're making a circle with the lower legs. Okay. Alright, bring your elbows about shoulder width apart and about 3 feet in front of the knees. Yeah, 3 feet. Longer. Up. Good. Good. Alright, shift your weight forward to start. Try to come all the way into your upper body until your shoulders pass your elbows. That's usually further than most people think. Let your hips release, let them hang toward the mat. So I want that hip crease gone. Come forward. Elbows forward. There we go, keep going. So very little crease here in the hip when you lean forward. Then press your elbow tips to pick your ribs up, drop your head in. Don't let your hips try to help, release there. They try to help, they'll hurt. Then drop your chest back down, let your hips drop. Try to get belly toward the mat more. Think of a mula bandha, pelvic floor lifting, like a Kegel exercise, perineum lifting. Then press down through elbows, pick your ribs up, drop the head. And then drop the hips, drop the chest. One more time, pick it up. This should be a lot of work in your upper body. Good. Then go ahead and start sitting back a little bit. Then roll heels back more. Try to get tops of the ankles to the ground more. Now press into the tops of the feet. Check into it. See if you can lift the knees up. Then you really know you're pressing into the tops of the feet. Don't press that hard anymore, but keep some pressure there. And lift mula bandha up, lift low belly up. Okay? Then you're going to sit back a little further like that. And then stop about halfway back and unround right there in space. Keep the pressure from the feet, but bring your pubic bone back. Unround the hips. Then drop your chest a little deeper. Maybe your knees can slide a little wider. You should definitely feel a groin stretch right now. If you feel like your hips are locking against this stretch, that is not good. That is not it. Bring your elbows back. Support yourself better. Whatever you need to do. Okay, start shifting forward. Pressing into the tops of the feet. Think mula bandha. The low belly doesn't pull to the ceiling, it pulls forward, out of the front of the hips. When you're all the way forward, shoulders past elbows, push your elbows to pick up your back. Drop the head, lift mula bandha. Little pressure in feet, try to flatten the ankles down. Keep the head dropped. And then let your hips release first. Let the belly hang, let the ribs drop. Last one like that, push your elbows to pick it up, keep hips released. They don't lead the way. And start sitting back like that. Hips staying released. How far back can you sit without tucking the tail under? Okay. And then bring it back forward, top the knees in. Actually, don't tuck the toes. Keep tops of the feet on the floor. Knees are about an inch to maybe an inch and a half to 2 inches apart. Open your heels out to the side. So we're actually going to purposely sickle the feet a little bit, just a little, try to get the top of the ankle into the mat. Okay, so heels are open out to the side, knees are a couple inches apart, and then I want you to come to hands. Turn your hands out so fingers face sideways. Inner spiral your arms so that your biceps face in toward each other. And then bend the elbows out to the side. You should feel your hands. Good. Let your head drop, but keep pressuring your hands. Try to feel your shoulder blades slide together a little bit. It's a tough one in this shape. Okay, go ahead and press through the arms to straighten. Push your hands to pick your ribs up. Don't let the hips do it. Keep hips soft. Push your hands to do it. Then push into the tops of the feet to pick up pelvic floor. And pelvic bowl will drop up and back a little bit. We'll lift up and back. Go ahead and start unrounding both halves at the same time. Ribs come forward, low belly, hips go back. Unround. Good. Drop chest down into shoulder girdle. Drop your head. Start with ribs. Hips should not lead. Push into hands to spread shoulder blades and pick ribs up. Push into tops of feet and ankles and shins to pick up low belly and pick up pelvic bowl. Really round. Drop your head a little further and think of your chin coming into your sternum and then lifting it up to the ceiling. Back ribs should open more. Shoulders don't come forward, they stay back. Shoulders away from ears more. There you go. Start sitting back slowly. Keep shoulders away from ears. That's serratus underneath the arms. The muscles running along the ribs. Then keep your core lifted, opening the back muscles. When you feel weight come into the tops of the feet, push the floor away a little bit. Don't sit all the way flat. Come back up, Victoria. Tops of the feet down. Heels wide. Good. Keep your hips about halfway down. You should feel work in your quads. Don't squeeze glutes though. Heels open, knees pull the mat apart. Mula bandha, pick up low belly. Now look up here if you haven't done this. You're going to keep quads engaged to keep hip height, but then unround the hips. And then you're going to re-round the hips. So quads stay engaged, but hips don't. Unround the hips. Going to do it again. Re-round, like Mula bandha. Quads stay engaged. Last one, unround. Sit all the way back. Drop your forehead to the mat. Bring your hands back behind you. Palms facing up. Let your shoulders hang too. Breathe. Just let your back release here a little bit. One more breath. Try to keep the tops of the hands in the mat. Push into the tops of the feet to lift your hips up. Roll forward on your head to the top of the head. You can roll to the top of the head if you feel stable enough with the tops of the hands on the ground. Just push your hands softly down into the mat and pick your shoulders up away from ears. Now keep rolling forward, chin into your own sternum so you can roll further back to the back of the head. Pick the shoulders up, untuck your hips. You don't need the hips tucked, certainly not glutes closed. I want your lumbar spine flat. Slowly roll back, reaching the hands back on the mat as you roll back. Come all the way to your forehead. When your forehead stops, keep reaching your hands further back. Good. One more time like that. Keep the hands stuck way back there. Push into the tops of the feet. Knees pull apart, heels pull apart. Chin in. Roll to the top of the head. Lift your shoulders up. Untuck the hips. Keep your pubic bone back, sitting bones apart. Keep pressure in tops of feet without tucking hips. Lift shoulders back. Don't forget that. And then slowly roll back so you can lift your arms and reach straight back. Using just the head. And all the way back. Good. Interlace the fingers behind the low back. Try to pull your elbows up. Shoulders rolling up with thumbs still on the back. Elbows are still a little bent. Okay. And see if you can reach the hands up to the height of the elbows. Then push into the tops of the feet, come up, push into the top of the head, roll forward. Keep your chin tucked in, back and neck long. Take the arms back, shoulders round forward. And reach the shoulders up, hands up, slowly roll back. Lots of pressure in the head. If you have a sinus infection or cold, this is good for that. Rolling through the sinuses helps release muscles in head and neck. Once you're at the back, keep your fingers interlaced, but let the hands split apart other than fingers. Let elbows drop wide, shoulders round forward. Keep that shape. This is the last time we're going to roll on the head here. Push into the tops of the feet, lift pelvic floor. Roll on the top of the head toward the back of the head. Try to tuck your chin in and touch your sternum with your chin. Then roll shoulders up and back. Breathe. Keep your hips released. If you want to lift the arms, go ahead and lift the arms with wrists pulling apart this time. Slowly roll back. Reach the hands back. Let the ribs touch the thighs. And come all the way back. Let the elbows drape, shoulders drape. Inhale. Feel the warmth you generated in the head and neck. Let your head soften. Let your forehead get heavier and heavier into the mat as you exhale. Breath. Let the hands release. Back of the hands to the mat again. And bring your hands next to the face. Bring it up slowly. Spot one spot on the mat. Make sure you're not dizzy. How are we doing? Yep. Push into the tops of the feet to come up. And hands come back forward. Good. Take the feet a little wider than the knees, heels wider than the toes. So a little bit of a turning out with heels. Keeping the tops of the ankles flat on the floor. Unround hips, drop chest into shoulder girdle. Sit back like that as far as you can. Keep pressure in the tops of the feet as you sit back. And then don't sit all the way. If you know you have bad knees or you know your knees are not loose yet, push into the tops of the feet to come up. And if it was too much to go all the way, don't go as far this time. This time you're going to round it up. Pick your ribs up, pick your low belly up, drop your head. Sit back a little ways till you feel your quads engaged. Weight at the top of the feet. Hold. Drop your head in a little deeper, lifting the ribs up and away from the pelvic bowl. Okay, go ahead and unround your hips, but don't sit back any further. Drop chest forward. Do it again. Keep pressure on tops of feet. Lift your low belly up. Drop the head. Shoulders away from ears. Feel your serratus. Keeping your serratus to stabilize ribs. That's muscles underneath shoulder blades. Shoulders down. Then drop hips back. Pushing the tops of the feet and come forward. Good. So you should feel like, look up here for a minute, when you're in that shape, you should feel like your serratus kind of holds your ribs in place, and then the hips come out from underneath. You can't let this release, or else nothing's holding the ribs up anymore. Hips coming under, serratus still engaged, hips coming back, serratus are what's stabilizing ribs in. It also takes weight out of the knees in the stretch. Okay, one more time. Pick the ribs up, but you can't shrug shoulders to ears. If you shrug shoulders to ears, you're disengaging serratus. So you got to keep shoulders away from ears and pick ribs up. That'll start stretching the back more too. Guys feel that? Keeping serratus as you sit back. It'll feel like your hands pull back on the mat, almost resisting the sitting back. Then you'll feel weight coming to the tops of the feet. Then you can pick your low belly up more, but don't lose the serratus. Keeping serratus, hips come out from under you. Keep serratus, bring hips back up. One more time. Feeling that a little bit. And bring it back. Bring it all the way up. Good. Turn the hands backwards. And stagger them. Bring your right hand way back and your left hand pretty far forward. Just a little bit in front of you. You're going to lean forward into the left hand. Drop your head and drop your chest into the shoulder girdle. The shoulder blade should slide up the back so you can see it up past the spine. You should feel a little stretch in the neck. Press into the hand to pick it back up. Hand doesn't want to because it's stretching. If it's too big a stretch, modify. Get there? Okay. Drop it back down. Let the neck stretch. Keep that cheek fake, the cheek close to the bicep on the left side. And then pick it back up. You guys feel that neck stretch? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead and roll back through that hand. Slide the fingers forward. Just bend fingers back. Roll it forward. Roll all the way back. Open and close the hand. Bring it flat on the mat. Other hand out in front. Come forward with your body. Let your hips release a little bit. If you really feel like they're holding and you have too much weight in the hand because it's too big a stretch, you can use some core, but not hips. Don't tuck tail, squeeze glutes. None of that. Okay, drop your chest down into the shoulder girdle. Feel that right shoulder blade slide up the back. Spread the right fingers. That hand has to be able to bear this weight for you to do this stretch. Push into the hand, bring the shoulder blade off the back. This is excruciating in your hand. That's not good. Too big a stretch. Drop the chest down. We talked on Saturday about how to modify these hand stretches. Let the head hang. And bring it up. Roll back. Just let the fingers bend back. That's it. Not a major stretch in the wrist anymore. Then roll the knuckles a little further through the wrist stretch. And then roll back. At your own rate. Your own stretch. From the knuckles on both hands. Go to tuck toes. Walk the knees back to get more of the toes tucked. Ideally, you want all 5 toes tucked. Sometimes you can't get that pinky, but try to at least get 2 or 3. And then sit back on the heels softly into that stretch for your feet. Good. How we doing? Yeah? Okay. Go ahead and keep your hands into the mat here. We're going to counter stretch the hand. Put the back of the right hand on the mat. Fingers facing toward you. Back of the hand down, spread from thumb to pinky. Everybody wants to kill the stretch by bringing the shoulder forward, using the chest. Roll the shoulder up and back. Okay, then outer spiral the arm so bicep faces forward. Okay, if you need support in your core, pull the mula bandha up, think pelvic floor lifting, and think of spreading the back ribs by pushing the hands. Okay, roll back through the right hand. The elbow should bend right behind the wrist. Trying to stay low. Okay, the wrist comes off the mat and the hand Once you get to knuckles, you have a lot less stretch, maybe none. Then slowly roll forward. Keep the elbow behind the hand, behind the wrist as long as you can. It's your stretch. Go to where it feels like you're happy about the stretch, not where you're going to pop your wrist off. Do it again. Roll back soft and easy. Don't kill your hand. Come all the way to knuckles. And then roll it forward, keeping elbow behind the hand. This time you're just going to roll all the way out of it. And then flatten the hand. Other hand. Back of the hand on the mat, palm facing you. Spread from thumb to pinky. Roll the shoulder up and back first. Then outer spiral arm so that biceps face forward, or bicep faces forward. If nothing else, if your elbow has to stay bent, at least pull it in more, behind the wrist. Okay, then you're going to roll the elbow back, bending at the elbow, picking up the base of the wrist off the mat. Keep a little pressure there, don't kill yourself. And then roll back forward, keep elbow behind the wrist as long as you can. Okay, do it again, roll back, elbow behind the wrist. And then roll back forward. Last one, roll all the way back, come to knuckles, and come all the way out of it. Okay, that's 10 fingers now, working hand. Pick your knees up. Stay high on your heels, and as high as you can. You can walk hands back closer. Try to bring your heels up and your sitting bones touching heels, or at least as close as you can to touching. Really releasing the hips. And then start dropping the heels back. Try to keep your chest and shoulders glued to the knees, or however close you can get to resting there. And then your heels drop back, shoulders and head drop forward. Bring it back up, all with the power of the feet. Toes grab the mat, all 10 grab the mat. Heels come up, hips come with heels. Chest and shoulders, or knees and shoulders drop back a little bit. Do it again. Knees and shoulders come forward, heels dropping back, head down. Now roll to the outside of your feet, all the way to the outer feet. And then bring the heels back in, toes back in. Try to roll the inner feet, a little harder to do. And push through the feet, bring it up. Good. Now keep knees hugging in, low belly sucking back. Keep your weight generally forward. And the belly can then oppose that by sucking back. Toes can stop you from falling by pushing the ground away. Suck Mula Bandha up. If you lean back, you'll fall back. There's nothing to keep you from falling backwards. You have to be leaning forward. So belly can pull away from the ground, away from the hips. And then hands come to prayer. Fingers spreading. Elbows wide. Actually put some pressure there. And think of lifting the core up inside the pelvic bowl. Inside open ribs. Find your breath. Good. Bring fingertips to the ground. Lift your hips up. Try to keep your heels high. Drop your head down. Good. Try to keep the legs straight as you can, or as straight as they are now. Lower your right heel to the mat. Keep the left hip exactly where it is. That means your hips have to stagger. Right sitting bone will drop below the left. Bring it back up. Get your shoulders away from yours. There we go. Drop left heel down. Good. And then bring it back up. Slowly drop both heels down. Bring your toes a ½ inch apart. Bring your heels a full inch apart. Drop your head, neck, and chest down into your stretch. Breathe. You should feel hamstrings here. Bring your hands back as far as you can behind the feet without being just fingertips. You don't have to get the whole base of the hand flat, but you've got to get your hand being able to reach back, okay? Then you're going to tip your weight forward toward the toes. You should feel your toes put on the brakes. Then pull shoulders straight back, away from the top of the head, toward the backs of the knees, backwards. You should feel like your shoulder blades wrap back around the ribs, toward the back of the thighs. Okay, keeping the weight tipped forward. Engage your quads to straighten the legs back more. Feel like your feet pull the mat apart. Breathe. Now inhale, bring the head up. Try to flatten the back, come to fingertips, and then actually purposely flex the muscles in the neck. Head as high as you can get it. Back of the head to the ceiling. Chin forward, tip forward. Then bring your head in first, chin in as far as you can get it, picking your ribs up, then drop back down. Hands back, head back, tip forward. Do it again. Inhale, head leads the way, chin leads the way. Back of the head up, dropping ribs deeper. Exhale, head in first, chin in, then come back down. Hands reaching back, shoulders reaching back. Unlock your knees, bend until your ribs can actually rest on the thighs. and then stay there. Let your shoulders hang. Find your breath. One more breath. Bend the knees a little deeper and open them a touch, keeping your ribs against them. Try to straighten just your right leg back without taking the left ribs off the left thigh. So just the right leg straightening. Bend that knee, ribs rest on both thighs. Try to straighten just your left leg back. Bend that knee, ribs rest on both thighs. Straighten just the right leg back. Let your head drop when we're picking up the back of that head. If your head really hangs and you keep your weight forward and mula bandha lifted a little, you'll start to feel the back of the hip open more. Bend the right knee, straighten the left leg now. Let the head hang in for good. Bend both knees, walk your hands forward on the mat, walk your feet out to the side, off the mat, pretty wide. Okay. Try to bring heels a little wider than toes. And take sitting bones back and apart. Hands are pretty far out in front to start. Think of a wide leg down dog. Heels have to be able to stay down though, so don't walk so far forward that your heels come up. Drop your chest down into your shoulder girdle. Put a soft bend in your knees, sitting bones back. Try to drop the belly a little deeper into that stretch. Arms are straight. Go ahead and sit back like that. Drop the head down. Breathe. Start to re-straighten the legs without changing upper body or the back. Inner spiral legs reaching sitting bones back. Lift your quads up away from the knee. We've been working on that lately. I'll try to decrease the space or decrease the flexion in the front of the hip. Low belly pulls forward a little bit as you shift your weight forward like a plank position. Keeping heels down for as long as you can. Good. Now walk your hands back so they're right under you. Right under shoulders. Okay, drop chest down into the shoulder girdle. Good. Bend both knees. Lift your low belly. Think of your knees as coming forward to round your hips under you. Okay. Drop your right knee in a little bit. Left hip turns back. Come back to the middle. Drop left knee into center line. Right hip rolls back. Come back to the middle. Now drop both knees in the center line. Pick your low belly, pelvic floor up out of that. Push into hands, pick ribs up higher. Drop your head. Okay, if you haven't done this one yet, look up here. We're going to unround by sweeping hips back out from under the ribs, the shoulder blades, it's the way to stabilize ribs. We're going to round again by bringing knees in and forward, low belly comes under. Okay? So, knees pull in, pelvic floor lifts, really spread the muscles in the upper back, drop head. Unround by taking hips back, knees will slide back. Round again by bringing knees together and forward and lifting low belly up and back. Unround, hips back, knees back. Re-round, knees in, low belly in. Good job. Unround last time. Drop chest down into shoulder girdle. Sit back into that stretch a little further. You should feel hips. You should feel feet. Good. And bring it forward. How are we doing? Let's go back in front of the hips. Lock the knees in. Good. Go ahead. Come into a wide stance in the knees. Think of a wide leg child pose. Hands way out in front of you. Pick your ribs up into the shoulder girdle first. Hips reach back, and then sit back as far as you can into that stretch. Let your forehead touch the ground. Once you're there, if you want to widen the knees, you can. Breathe. Think of curling toes in toward the glutes and heels out a little bit. So open the hips more. Now flexing the neck. Soften the neck and shoulders and chest. And pressing the tops of the feet, come on back. Alright, grab your bolster. Do a little bit of shoulder stretching. Okay, you're going to keep the knees pretty close together. Elbows on your bolster. Knees can be maybe hip width or 2 inches apart or so. And then heels a little wider, the toes, try to put tops of ankle into the mat. So usually we try for one straight line. It's really hard to get the top of the ankle flat there. So we're just going to turn the heels out a little bit. We want tops of the ankles in the mat as much as possible. Hands together, palms touching, fingers spreading. These two thumb knuckles are going to push into each other, engage the pecs and the chest. Come forward. Press down through your elbows to pick the ribs up. Feel those thumbs press into each other. Let the head drop. Think of the back of the head reaching forward. Back of the neck, reaching forward. Breathe. Okay. Start sitting back without letting yourself drop ribs. Keep pressure in elbows. Go to squeeze the head back through the arms. Try to get past your bolster. Head coming toward the ground, or at least pinning the head, the back of the head into your bolster. Go ahead and let your hips sit back at first. Let the side body get longer, shoulder blade sliding up the side of the ribs. Your ribs shouldn't be able to touch the knees, but your hips should be able to go behind the knees. Breathe. Okay, press into the tops of the feet, lift your low belly. And then start coming forward a little bit so you can slide elbows forward, keep head pinned behind the bolster. Okay, and then one more time, go ahead and sit back. This time, bend your elbows, bring your hands back to the thoracic spine. Keeping elbows on the bolster, hips reach further back. Your side body should open more. Breathe. You should not feel pain in the top of the shoulder. That means you have the wrong spiral in the arm. Okay, press into the tops of the feet to start this. So actually think about that. Press down into ankles. I want the heels out, ankles on the mat. Lift the mula bandha, lift pelvic floor. And then push into elbows, shrugging shoulders to ears. Head will come off the mat if it was touching. Try to pin the back of the head into the bolster as you come further forward, stretching the neck, shoulders back. Breathe. Raise your hips, no tucking here. And start coming back. Drop your head back first, and then hips reach all the way back. Breathe. Think of shrugging shoulders a little bit here. And then let that go. Okay, pushing the tops of the ankles, that whole shin down, heels a little wide, lift low belly. Press into elbows, hands pressed into shrugging shoulders up. And now just let go of that shrug. Drop your head down again. One more time. Try to shrug shoulders up. I'd rather it be from the chest, pecs, collarbone area. Drop that back down again. Neck and head getting longer toward the mat. And then go ahead and sit all the way back. Hips reaching back. Sides long. Breathe. Trying to reach your ribs further and further back out of the shoulder girdle. And bring the arms forward. Try to press down with your forearms into the mat. Really straighten the arms here. Outer spiraling rib. That means biceps should face the ceiling. That should have been the rotation the whole time. Pushing the tops of feet to come up. Pick your head up. Bring it forward through the arms a bit. Good. Feel the shoulder stretch, neck stretch? Good? Yeah?
Awesome.
Okay. Shouldn't get pain from here to here. That means you're trying to spiral in and resist the stretch. You have to be spiraled out so the shoulder blade can start wrapping on the side of the ribs and slide up the side of the ribs. If that doesn't happen, you get that and you squish the neck, and this really works hard to not stretch, I guess, to avoid the stretch. So you really have to get the right rotation in the arm, or that one sucks. All right, let's go up to hands. Okay, and then go ahead and turn your fingers out to the sides. Pick your ribs up. Drop the head. Lift the low belly. Sit back as far as you can, holding onto your pillow to not lose that stretch in the back. Drop your head through the arms. Keep shoulders away from ears a little. Inhale. Exhale, let your hips unround. Pressure comes into the tops of the feet. And then sit back again. Let your head drop past the level of the arm. Straighten through the thumbs. Reach the thumbs away. Suck the ribs back. Bring it straight up. Pressure in hands to come up. Good. Okay, let's bring the hands. No, you can even to the sides actually. Bring your right foot outside your bolster. Turn your toes out. Drop your hips forward into your stretch. If you feel like this knee is pushing you away, you probably need to be higher. Maybe two bolsters, maybe your blocks. Try to open this knee first though. See if you can't roll to the outer foot a little bit. Make space in the front of this hip. And start feeling that right sitting bone open out to the right more. Good, breathe. As you exhale, pick your ribs up a little bit. Push into the right foot. Bring your hips back. And try to drop the ribs back forward. Feel a stretch in the hip by dropping the hips back. Okay, bring it back up. Bend the front knee, opening the knee out to the side. Drop your hips into that stretch. Open your chest. Think up, down. Push into the top of the back foot so you can pick your back knee up for now. Good. Breathe. Put the back knee down. Let the hip drop a little deeper into the stretch. Good. Bring your left elbow to your bolster. Push the right knee further away. Let the foot roll out a little. Lift your lower belly. Good. Roll that right shoulder back. Good. Now lift your lower back away. Think of rounding your hips under. But really lift your lower belly away, excuse me. Think mula bandha, pelvic floor. And then drop back into it. So a lot of people squish their lower back in some of these front of the hip stretches. Do it again. Pick your lower belly up, round. And then drop back into it. Good. See if you can lean far enough forward to be off the knee and on your back quad and reach the hand back for the foot. If you can get there, go ahead and pull the foot in. If you can't get there, let it go. Bring it back to the center. Good. Walk your elbows over to the right side of your bolster. Bring your right elbow forward. Turn your right toes out a little further. And you're going to let the foot roll out a little bit, but don't let it completely die. Just let it roll out a little. And then open the knee further. Sit a little further into that foot. At the same time, use the foot to softly press into the mat to make a little space in the right hip crease. Uncrunch your left side. Breathe. And bring it back up. Hands to the bolster. Tuck the back toes. Bring it up. Open up your hips to face left. Roll left hip forward, right hip back. One more time. Open up hips to face left. Roll left hip forward, right hip back. Elongate wrist. Bend the front knee. Open the chest. Don't bend the arms. Try to drop hips below wrist. Keep pressure in the right foot. Keep the back quad engaged. Keep that back leg as straight as you can. Pick it right back up again. Drop the head. Pick the ribs up. Push into the hands. Suck the low belly up. Strong feet. Both of them pushing the floor away. Good. Drop chest into shoulder girdle first. Get longer in your ribs. Sides of the ribs open. Then bend the front knee. Drop the hip. Keep long. All the way from foot to chest to collarbone. Open the chest. Keep the back foot strong. Slowly lower the back knee down. Good. And then go ahead and sit back. Slide your front foot out to the side and forward until you can put your hips down. Elbows to the bolster. Drag the bolster back. You can try to bring your ribs up to the bolster, keeping the hip into the floor. It's a little different than the way we've done before. See if you can bring your left elbow in front of the bolster, pull it to you, reach your right arm back, opening the chest. And can you bring the foot up there? Lean into your bolster as much as you want. I don't care if you drop your head up. Okay? Pull the foot into you, push the foot back into the hand. Once the foot is pushed into the hand, roll the shoulder back, open the chest. And then pull it back in, release the quad. Okay. Good. Elbows into your bolster. Press into elbows, bend the back knee, pull the foot back. Good. Keep the elbows on the bolster, hands closed, hands in prayer. Take the ribs up in the shoulder girdle. Drop the head back through the arms. Elbows far enough forward so you can bend them. Bend the hands to the thoracic spine and sit all the way back again. Stretching sides, shoulders, chest, upper back, a little bit in place. Breathe. Press into the tops of the feet to come forward. Back of the head gets pinned into your bolster. Keep pressing softly in the top of the feet. Heels open, knees open, hips untucked. So lumbar spine long, shoulders back. And then roll back again. Release the hips. Hands reach forward strong. Spread the fingers. Press down with the whole upper arm. Bring your head back up through the arms. Good. Hands to your bolster. Side two. Bring your left foot forward outside the bolster. Turn the toes out about 45 degrees. Your hands can be as wide as your bolster turned out. Start dropping the back hip forward. Open your left knee. Letting the left sitting bone come away from the right sitting bone. They can't stay glued into each other. You can't pull sitting bones together here or your hips will want to be tucked. You gotta let the hip go a little bit. Okay, let's put some pressure in your left foot. Bring the hips back. Straighten the leg as much as you can within your stretch. Pick your ribs up, drop the head. Don't feel your sitting bones come together, though, let that go. And think of your right knee pulling the mat right, drop hips back, ribs forward. You can bend left knee right off the bat if you need to flatten the back. Start bending the left knee to come forward. So that quad takes some of your weight. Open up the left knee, drop the right hip into the stretch. Good. Lean a little bit to the left. Try to open the foot a little bit more. Breathe. Try to make space in the left hip crease by opening knee more, rolling that knee under and out to the side. Press into the left foot again. Feel the right knee pull forward a little bit. Drop the hips back. Pick your ribs up into shoulder girdle, pushing into hands. Drop the head. Don't squeeze glutes though. Let that go. Lift pelvic floor only. And then unround. Sitting bones reach back as ribs go forward. Bend the left knee. Open the knee out to the side. And drop into your stretch. Bring elbows to the bolster if you can. Bring your elbows over to the left a little bit more. Left elbow forward on the bolster. Roll to the outer left foot. Don't completely let the foot die. You have to keep some integrity, some engagement in the foot. And then open the hip further away. Don't let the right side crunch. Keep the right shoulder a little forward too. Try to keep the middle abs engaged enough to keep a little bit of length between rib cage and pelvis. Breathe. And back up. Very nice. Bring hands to the bolster. Push into the back foot, top of the foot to lift the back knee. Feel the quad engaged. And then drop it back down. See if that hip will drop a little deeper into your stretch. One more time. Push into the top of the foot. Don't let the hip roll under when you do that. Keep your top of the thigh square to the floor. And then break back down. See if the hip will drop a little deeper. Open your left knee too. Good. Bring your right elbow down to your bolster. Left hand to the knee. Think of your fingers facing in and down instead of pointed to the ceiling. So the elbow comes up. That should make some space in the serratus here. And open your ribs a little bit on the left side, which you want. And then lifting Mula Bandha, pelvic floor with ribs open, push the hip away. Now try to lift your low belly up to help support the low back. You'll push through the bottom elbow a little too. Hollow the collarbone. Think of that. And then drop back down. Good. Do that again. Push through that bottom elbow. No collapsing there. Pick it up. Lift your low belly up. And then drop back down. Last one. Push through that bottom elbow. Spread the shoulder blade. Lift Mula Bandha. Open the hip away. And then drop back down. Very nice. Good job. Okay, I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody got on the other side. Stay on the elbow. If you can bend the knee, come forward, bring foot to hand. Tough spot. Go ahead and stretch the quad if you get it. Okay, roll the shoulder back. Let it go. Okay. Sit back in the hips. Slide your left foot out to the left and forward until you can drop your right hip to the mat and bring elbows to your bolster. Okay, so go as wide as you need to with the foot. It doesn't need to be real far forward. Okay. Think of pulling back on the bolster. Try to keep the front of the right hip, the pelvic bowl stuck to the ground. So you need to take your bolster further forward and do that. Okay. And then pull back on your bolster, keeping hips stuck to the ground. You should feel a little stretch in the psoas, the muscle right in front here on that right side. Okay, once you feel that stretch, see if you can roll the left shoulder open and reach your left arm back from the shoulder blade. Open the chest. Then bend the knee. It should be easy to pop the foot up to the hand. Pull your foot in. So we've done this before laying flat or a little higher on purpose so you can be on top of it more. Breathe. Front foot. Front foot. I wonder if it's easy. This one was pretty easy. Okay, see if you can push your foot into your hand a little bit to pull the shoulder open more and lift you out of that. Good, and then let that go. Pull it back into one more. Use quad. Push foot into hand. That's the straightening of your leg. Roll the shoulder back. Lift out of the bottom shoulder. If it crunches your low back, don't do it. Let it go. Come forward. Good. Let that go. Bend the elbows. You can either tuck the back toes and push into the elbows to bring it back and step back, or you can stand up in the down dog to come back. Good. All right. Let's go ahead and get the bolster out of the way. How are we doing? Okay. Hands flat. Tuck your toes. Drop hips behind the hands. And before you go anywhere, keep your shoulder blades back. We've been doing a lot of talking about serratus in your down dog. So you're going to keep the shoulder blades pulling back, which engages serratus, but at the same time, you're not going to tuck the hips. You're going to untuck the hips. Serratus are separate from the muscles in the hips. Keeping your serratus as you lean back. When your hips come back, you don't shrug shoulders up. You keep the serratus. Then drop the head. And as your hips go further back, it gets really tempting to release the serratus. Don't do it. Keep them dragging back with you. It'll make your hands heavier. Take your feet about 2 or 3 inches apart once you're back there. Okay, keep hands heavy by pulling shoulders around the sides of the ribs, serratus engaging. Find your quads lifting up away from the knee, flattening the back of the knees back more, toes grabbing the mat a little bit. Okay, pick your left leg straight back and up. Keep your hip low. Try to drop that right heel to the ground and drop your left hip below the level of the right hip. Reach back through your left leg. Hip is low. Leg is not. But now roll the hip up without crunching your right hip to your ear. Keep the right hip rolled under you. Big heel in, toes out on that right foot to do that. Okay? Drop your chest a little further back. Reach the right heel to the mat. Get it flat. Roll the left hip down. All the way down. Hug your right hip back further. Reach through your left toes. Left quad engaged. Right quad engaged. Roll it back up. Right foot strong. Open up the hip. Okay? And roll the hip all the way back down. Shoulders are back. Serratus engaged. Good. Now bring your knee in. Push high onto the right toes. Step forward. Come forward. Excuse me, not step. Keep your ribs pulled up into the shoulder by pushing down. You can't suck the belly. Start flattening it out. Knee hovers over the mat. Quad engaging. Put the knee down. Good. How are we doing? Go ahead and slide your right foot back. Try to sit down inside the left knee. Putting the right frontal hip toward the mat. So this is a super baby introductory position. You're not even in pigeon. Okay. Go ahead and roll over your foot. Sit your hip down behind the foot. Okay, bring this foot as far forward as you can. And then come back to the back knee. Tuck the toes. Propel yourself forward. And then retuck where you can be in a plank. Just a different way of coming in pigeon. Oh, but it's for Dorothy's method. She's not here today. Okay, but if you can only come to here, and you can bring your foot forward to here, and you can't get your hip to roll forward, you can still stretch as far as you can over that shin in that place. You can even bend the knee back behind you a little bit if you want to. The foot doesn't fall right. Okay? All right, still stretching the hip there. Still? Yeah. Okay, if you're in the elevated pigeon in your plank position, I want you to press forward. See if you can roll all the way over the toes, hands past the shoulders. Shoulders past the hands, one of those two. Push into the top of the left foot, push into the left knee. Really engaging the leg and stretching. Roll your right hip in. Right frontal hip coming into left groin. Move your hips left. And then come back open. Roll over the toes. Reach it back. Try to push forward with hands to sit back behind the shin more. Do it again. Come all the way forward. Roll the hip under. Stay left. Push into the top of your left foot. Roll it open. Roll back over toes. Walk the knee back a little further. Top of the foot on the floor. Stay upright first. Try to drop the right quad into the mat more. If you feel this crunching your low back, then you want to come down. Still feel your stretch there? Okay, good. Okay, activate your foot. Open your toes into the mat, but try to keep the ankle pointed, foot long. Okay, we're going to walk it over to the right. See if you can bring your right leg further back on the mat when you do that. Let your hips roll under now, round. Pick your ribs up. Okay, and then roll your right hip forward to the mat a little more. Do it again. Let hips roll under, round, soft low back. Drop the head. Drop your head more. Let it release down. There we go. And then come back forward, right hip into the mat. Good. Come to elbows. Diagonally right. Good. Should be a big stretch there. You can use a bolster to elevate it, whatever you need. If you want to go deeper, you can open the elbows out to sides. Put your forehead on the backs of the hands. Wherever you're at, press down into elbows. Lift Mula Bandha. Think of lifting low belly. Push the mat forward to suck the belly back, trying to roll that left hip under you more. To the left and under. And then release. Do it again. Push down through elbows. Pick up low belly. Inhale. As you exhale, think of pulling the ribs forward. Elbows pull back a little bit. Keep right hip dropping heavier into the mat. And bring it back to the middle. Keep your right elbow on the ground. Bring your left hand right in front of the left knee. Elbow forward. You can even tent the fingers, it's up to you. And then pushing into that hand, try to twist toward the leg you're stretching. But keep your back filled in. Keep a lift as you twist. Low belly lifting out of the front of the right hip. Shoulders are a little bit away from ears. Good. And then let go of that. Drop it back down. One more time. Push into the left hand. Inhale. Exhale, lifting low belly, twist a little deeper. Right elbow kind of pushes right, brings your right shoulder under you more and forward. If you slide that right shoulder blade forward and under, it opens your back more. And bring it back. Very good. Tuck the back toes, walk the back knee forward, reach up. Lift it up and step back. If you came into your pigeon from the seated version, you can sit again. Bring the foot in close. Tuck the toes. Roll back on top of it, and then step back. Okay, stay back in your down dog, however you get there. Use your hands pressing the mat forward without shrugging shoulders to ears. You can't just indiscriminately press the mat forward. You've got to really think about lengthening the side body by reaching hips back with the hands as a boundary for that. At the same time, shoulders pull around the ribs. They pull down away from the ears a bit, but that's sinking forward, so it's not just that. You stay a little lifted out of shoulder blades, but then you wrap elbows in, down, and you keep that pulling down to the ground with the shoulders. Then hips go back against that. That's your opposition. And then you can drop the head. Breathe. And I mean, sometimes you can release that. You can just go for a deep shoulder stretch and really drop the head to the mat or whatever too, but try to keep serratus for now. Reach the heels for the mat. Very strong here. Arms are really pretty tight. Biceps are wrapping to the bone. Your triceps are really straightening arms. Quads are straightening back. And then the core gets light. Lift your ribs up a little bit. Unflex the back. Let the action be in the limbs. Okay. Breathe. Bring your, let's see, just to the left hip. Bring your right leg up and back. Open up the right hip on top of the left. Drop your chest further back. Really reach through the right quad, left quad lifting off the left knee too. Try to reach for the ceiling with that right leg. You feel your hips get light away from ribs. Pick your ribs up into the shoulder girdle. Breathe. Roll the right hip down. Keep your leg reaching back, but roll the right hip below the level of the left hip. Keep the integrity of the left leg and the shape of the serratus in the core. Breathe. As you exhale, the hips roll, the serratus stay engaged to keep the ribs stable. Good. Chest dropping back, serratus still engaged against that. Good. Bring it back down. Roll the right hip down. Hug your left hip back. Keep serratus hugging down. Roll it back up. Last one. Roll that right hip down. Bend the knee, bring it in. Start coming high under your left toes. Pushing the hands to pick your ribs up higher. Drop the head. And then start dropping knee to the mat, flattening back. Keep your back quad strong to pull out of the front of the hip. And put the knee down. Slide the toes back. You're going to sit back into that sort of baby pigeon. Sit on the inside of the foot at first. You can stretch the thigh. If you haven't been able to bend the knee in other shapes, this is sometimes the first shape you can bend it in because it's really easy to have quad on the floor instead of the kneecap. So reach with your right hand. Pull back. Feel how you're on top of quad more than knee there. It's just because your hips are laying in because it's an easier stretch. All right, little aside there. Okay, so if you want to do the, so I guess it's somewhat easier way, you can set the hip down outside the heel and then slowly bring the foot forward as far as you want to come into your stretch. If you know you're going to come to the full stretch, roll back into it, tuck back toes, come into your plank, further forward. Try to have one straight line from knee to toe. If you're going to stay with just a lesser stretch where the foot's not as far forward, you can even bend the back leg and just work on coming forward over the shin, not just over the knee. Come to the shin more. Make sure your elbows can touch something if you need blocks so that you can pull the ribs forward. When we go forward and back and use elbows to move, you're going to do the same thing. Okay? So you can come into the full stretch. Toes tucked. Go ahead and be there. Okay, keep a strong back quad. Press into the front leg. Roll all the way forward over your toes if you can. Okay? Really push into the front knee all the way to the tip of the toes. Suck the belly up higher. Roll left hip in toward the right. Roll it back open, roll over the toes, reach back. Now try to push yourself further back in your stretch. You can keep the knee pushing to keep it elevated if it helps. And then roll all the way forward. Big ribs up, low belly up, roll that right hip in, bring your hips to the right. You can bring your ribs to the right. You can lift right shoulder a little bit to open up this serratus and ribs on this side. Come back to the middle. Roll over the toes, push yourself deeper into the stretch, and bring your back quad down. Stay high. Good. Keep it square. Put the top of the back foot into the mat. Breathe. Bring your hands over to the left. Try to bring the left hand a little further than the right. Lift your low belly. Roll the right hip under you. Drop your head legitimately. Let it hang. And then roll back forward, left hip to the mat. Do it again. Lift your low belly. Roll back. Let your left knee even bend. I don't care. And then roll back forward. Try to put left arm hip more to the mat. Last one. Roll back. Lift your low belly. Drop your head. Back should feel rounded. Roll it forward again. Stay as far forward as you can. Come to elbows. Maybe you need to come to blocks. Maybe you come to bolster. Bring elbows wide if you want to go deeper, and put forehead on the back of the hands. Breathe. As you inhale, try to feel the rib cage soft and allow it to expand. In order to do that, it needs to not be tense. So put a tiny bit of pressure in your elbows to lift up a little bit in your low belly and then lift the ribs. And then keeping that pressure, chin in, put some pressure in your forehead if your forehead is down. If not, just bring chin in to help back ribs open. Keep the pressure in the elbows, but release your back and spine. And then inhale. The higher ribs can open wider. Elbows can pull apart to help open. If serratus are engaged, they actually are one of the few muscles that helps open ribs on inspiration, on inhalation. Exhale. One more time. Push your elbows. Inhale. Elbows wide. Hold. Use elbows pushing forward. Roll the right hip back more. Lift Mula Bandha pelvic floor. Think of perineum or a kegel exercise. And then exhale. Last one like that. Elbows push forward. Inhale. Lift Mula Bandha. Roll the right hip under. And then pull back on the mat with elbows dragging ribs forward as you exhale. Come back to the middle. Left elbow stays on the mat. Right hand in front of the knee. Pick your right ribs up, really pressing into the hand. Try to open the ribs, but keep your tail under a little. Use your left elbow to push a little bit and roll your right hip under. Inhaling there. So your whole point is to open the ribs and the hip on the right side. And then exhale, just let it release. Do it again. Inhale, little pressure through the left elbow. We'll roll your right hip under, then push in the right hand to pick your right ribs up. Top of the head forward. Soften your chest. It's not helping, it just wants to. And then drop it back. Good. Bring your elbows to the mat again. Walk it to hands. Tuck the back toes. Walk the knee forward. Retuck and either step back to plank. And then down dog. Or you can come back out of it the way we came. Pull the foot in really close. Roll over the top of the heel till you're on your knee. Tuck the back toes. Step back down. Good. Keep hips reaching back. Head dropping down. If you have a deeper shoulder stretch, go for it now. Drop head way back through the arms. Try to bring it to the floor. And bring it forward. Come on down to the knees. Good. How are we doing? Good. Go ahead and grab your foot block, red ball. Oh wait, one more thing. I'm sorry. You don't get to go there. I lied. Grab your strap.